There comes a point where the weight of the world feels unbearable, a point where your past screams louder than your future, a point where your faith is tested, your strength is questioned, and everything you believed God said begins to blur beneath the pressure of life. And it is at that point, that sacred, breaking, burning point, that God speaks loudest. God said, "This is exactly what I want you to become." Not after the pain, not once you've figured it all out, not someday down the line when everything is perfect. Number right here, right now, right in the middle of the mess, the confusion, the warfare, and the waiting. This is the place of becoming. And if you are hearing this message, then perhaps, just perhaps, you are one of the chosen ones. Not chosen because you're perfect, chosen because you were preserved. You've survived too much to stay ordinary. You've seen too much to stay silent. You've been kept for a calling far greater than you even realize. And when God marks you for more, He doesn't wait for you to be comfortable. He doesn't wait for the storm to pass. He walks into the fire with you and whispers, "I'm still with you." That's why you haven't lost your mind. That's why you're still standing. That's why even in your lowest moments, there's still a flicker of hope burning in your chest. Because heaven has been watching over you, preparing you in the shadows for a glory that cannot be explained. So today, heaven issues a divine interruption, a shaking, a fire starter, because you must know, God hasn't changed His mind about you. The enemy tried to wear you down, but the assignment didn't expire. The people who walked away didn't cancel your calling. The mistakes you made didn't erase the anointing. You are still called, still chosen, still becoming. And nothing, not fear, not failure, not even the fire, can stop what God already decided in eternity. You were never just surviving. You were being shaped for something sacred, and now the time has come for you to rise. Let's start with this unshakable truth. When God speaks, He is not offering advice or making suggestions. There comes a point where you stop living for survival and start living for purpose. That point, where everything inside you either breaks or bursts forward, is a holy place. It is where destiny is formed, where clarity replaces confusion, where fire consumes fear. It is the collision between your limitations and God's intention. A place where you stop begging for rescue and start listening for revelation. Because in that moment, you're not just enduring, you're evolving. Moses had a point like that, on the backside of the wilderness, when everything he ran from caught up with him. And what did he find? A bush on fire, a symbol of God's voice in the wilderness. Exodus 3:2 says, "The angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush." Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. It was not just a spectacle, it was a summons. The flame did not consume the bush, and neither did the wilderness consume Moses. Instead, it marked the beginning of something sacred, his true assignment. Some of you are at that same burning bush moment. You're in the fire, but you're not being consumed. You're in the wilderness, but you're not alone. Because there's a word from God that can only be heard in the flames. And if you listen closely, you'll discover that what you thought was destruction is actually divine instruction. The fire you're feeling isn't there to destroy you. It's there to define you. It's there to strip off what doesn't belong, to burn away the fear, and to reveal the calling that's been buried under survival mode for too long. Let me say this clearly. Your wilderness is a workshop. Your fire is a forge. Your breaking is a birthing. There comes a point where the pain begins to speak purpose, where the silence births strategy, where your tears become oil, and your trials become training. You're not lost, you're being led. You're not broken, you're being built. This is the process that turns weakness into weaponry. And if you hold on through the fire, you'll emerge with a testimony that carries weight. Because you didn't just survive the flames, you met God in them. Let's go deeper. God's voice echoes across eternity into your very moment and says, "This is exactly what I want you to become." Not almost, not partially, exactly. Do you know what that means? It means your journey is not random. It means your battles were allowed because your breakthrough is already written. It means your gifts were never a mistake. Your voice was never accidental. Your story was never insignificant. Every tear, every detour, every delay has been woven into something divine. God is not improvising with your life. He is executing a blueprint He authored before time began. You are not trying to become something new. You are becoming what He always intended. God doesn't guess. He's not unsure. He said exactly. Exactly what? Exactly stronger. Exactly bolder. Exactly more resilient, wiser, more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness than you even know. You are becoming the very thing the enemy tried to prevent. That's why the pressure has been so heavy. That's why the warfare has been so intense. Because when God says, "This is exactly what I want you to become," hell hears, "This is exactly what I'm afraid you'll become." And that's why the attack came. Not because you were weak, but because you were close. The enemy didn't fear your past. He feared your becoming. And now, you're in the middle of becoming. Philippians 1:6 says, "Being confident of this, that He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." He didn't bring you this far to abandon you. He didn't invest in your becoming just to leave you broken. He's still working, still shaping, still refining. What feels like delay is divine design. What looks like a breaking point is actually a building point. Keep going, because when God says exactly, He finishes exactly what He starts. Perhaps you are chosen, but chosen doesn't mean easy. Chosen means processed. Chosen means tested. Chosen means refined in the fire. It means you're not just being carried through life, you're being carved by it. God doesn't choose those who are already perfect. He chooses those willing to be perfected. And the process is never painless, but it is always purposeful. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every moment of confusion has been shaping something eternal inside of you. Because being chosen isn't about escaping the fire, it's about emerging from it transformed. It means God trusted you with trials that would have broken others. He allowed you to walk through what others ran from. Because you are becoming the kind of person who carries purpose with power. To the chosen, rejection is direction. Delay is divine timing. Pain is the soil of purpose. God is cultivating something in you that cannot be rushed. So when the process feels slow and when you feel unseen, remember, God is not just building your future, He's building your foundation, and only those with deep roots can carry lasting fruit. If you've been feeling overlooked, misunderstood, abandoned, hear this. You are not forgotten. You are being forged. God hides His greatest weapons until the battle requires them, and when the time is right, He releases them with precision. So if it feels like you've been hidden, maybe you're not buried, you're planted, and what's planted must break through. Roots must go deep before fruit can go wide. That season of isolation wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Heaven doesn't rush masterpieces, and you, chosen one, are being molded into one. Isaiah 43:2 declares, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flames scorch you." God is not preparing you for comfort, He's preparing you for calling. He's not training you to fit in, He's raising you to stand out. The fire didn't come to consume you, it came to commission you. And the moment you accept that being chosen comes with a cost, is the moment you begin to walk in the kind of authority that breaks chains, shifts atmospheres, and carries heaven to earth. There comes a point where breaking becomes building, where the very things that once shattered your confidence become the foundation God uses to anchor your calling, where what was once a burden becomes the birthplace of boldness. In this sacred moment, God begins to undo everything you thought you had to be, so He can reveal who He actually designed you to become. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's necessary. Because becoming isn't about adding more, it's about releasing what was never meant to stay. This is where surrender becomes strength, where letting go becomes the first step toward rising up. Because you cannot truly become until you allow Him to strip away what's not aligned with your assignment. The false identities, the survival mindsets, the fear-based decisions, all of it has to fall away for the real you to rise. And God, in His mercy, will allow pressure to purify you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. He is not trying to break you down. He is trying to build you up with fire-tested faith and unshakable purpose. You're not just being delivered from sin. You're being delivered into purpose. You're not just being freed from the past. You're being fired up for the future. Joseph had to go through the pit to get to the palace. David had to face Goliath before he could wear the crown. Esther had to risk her life to save a nation. None of them skipped the process. All of them had a point. That moment where fear met fire and faith took over. That sacred turning point where the ordinary ends and the extraordinary begins. You are standing at that same point now, and what you choose to believe in this moment will shape what you become next. Will you believe the fear or the fire? Will you hold on to the past or reach forward into your purpose? Heaven is watching, hell is trembling, and you are being transformed. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now. This is your point, your moment of becoming. Let faith take over. If you hear nothing else today, hear this. You are not behind, you are not disqualified, you are not too late. The enemy may be loud, but he is not right. The delay was not your denial. The detours did not cancel your destiny. You are not a failure, you are in formation. Everything you've walked through is still usable in God's hands. The broken pieces, the lost time, the missed steps, they are all being woven into a testimony that hell won't be able to silence. You are becoming, slowly, deeply, powerfully. God doesn't need you to have it all figured out. He just needs your yes. A yielded heart is a powerful weapon. A submitted life is a dangerous force. When you give God your surrender, He gives you strength. When you trust Him in the unknown, He leads you into the unstoppable. Your job is not to understand everything, it's to obey. And obedience is the door that opens the floodgates of purpose. So today, choose to believe again, hope again, speak life again, dream again. Your past doesn't disqualify you, it qualifies you for grace. Your weakness isn't a curse, it's the canvas for God's power. Because God is not finished. In fact, He's just getting started. What feels like the end is often the beginning in God's hands. Hebrews 10:35-36 says, "So do not throw away your confidence, it will be richly rewarded. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. Hold on to that promise. Walk with boldness, not because of who you are, but because of whose you are. You are still in the story, still in the fight, still chosen, and what God starts, He finishes. Every time, there comes a point where your spirit starts to remember who you are, where the fire inside you refuses to stay silent, where the weight you've carried becomes the wings that lift others. The same burden that tried to crush you becomes the very thing that gives you compassion, insight, and authority. It's at this divine intersection between pain and purpose that something shifts. And at that point, you realize God didn't choose you to blend in. He chose you to break through. He didn't anoint you for applause. He anointed you for impact. And now the heavens are waiting for you to step into what's already been written. You are called. You are chosen. You are becoming everything God saw in you before you took your first breath. Long before the mistakes, long before the fear, long before you ever doubted your worth, He already declared your identity. So don't shrink, don't settle, don't second guess. Heaven isn't confused about you, so stop living like you're unsure. God said, "This is exactly what I want you to become." Not a watered-down version, not a hesitant shadow, but the full, fiery, fearless version He formed before the foundations of the earth. Rise into it. Speak like it. Walk like it. Pray like it. Live like it. Because the world doesn't need a copy of someone else. It needs you, awakened, anointed, and on fire. Your life is not a mistake. Your pain is not wasted. Your purpose is not cancelled. You are becoming, and becoming is a holy, powerful, glorious thing. It's messy, it's stretching, but it's divine. So let this be the day, the moment, the divine point, where you declare with boldness and unshakable faith, "I will become exactly what God designed me to be."